Father, we come before you. We empty our hearts and minds to be filled by your word. So speak into our hearts. So we pray. May the word of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your eyes, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. It was back in Atlanta when I was doing youth and college ministry. One Saturday, I was helping a child of children's ministry pastor moving to his dormitory in Georgia Tech. He was a freshman in college. When everything was done, after leaving her son behind in downtown Atlanta, she and I, the children's ministry pastor, she and I had a late lunch together. At the moment, I was extremely tired because I had the day before, a youth group Bible study and activity thereafter that ended 12:30 a.m. after I finished giving a ride and coming home. And I also busied myself in that morning preparing for Sunday, making bulletins and preparing sermons and so on. So I was eating, sundubu or sun tofu. By the way, have you tried it? Tofu soup? That's pretty good, okay? If you haven't tried it, please try it. You won't regret, okay? You will not be disappointed. Anyway, I was eating and she was speaking. I was listening, and I was so tired that I was almost falling asleep while eating. But she kept going. How much she appreciated my help. And I thought to myself, look, I got it. Please stop. Leave me alone. Don't you see I'm tired? But I told her, no problem. My pleasure. But I found something interesting. Though I was extremely tired, when I began speaking, I felt rejuvenated. I felt energy in my body. It's like, I said, it's like blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, I felt, some energy coming in my body. And I realized, we humans, we love to talk and hate to listen. We love to talk and hate to listen. Maybe this is what happened in today's story, which is often called transfiguration. One day, Jesus takes Peter and John and James, the sons of Zebedee, to a mountain to pray. And there he is transfigured. His face changed and his clothes become as bright as a flash of lightning. Then two men appear. Who are they? Moses and Elijah. In glorious splendor, and they are talking to Jesus. So what are they talking about? The NRSV and the most English translation says his departure. But in Greek, it says what? Exodus. If you have an NRSV or NIV, I think that has the footnote down there. Literally, Exodus. They are talking about his exodus. It is not actually Jesus' departure, but the departure of his people whom he will deliver from slavery, right? If that is exodus. He will accomplish that departure or exodus where? In Jerusalem, right? In Jerusalem. So what is exodus here? What is going to happen when he goes to Jerusalem? He will be arrested, beaten, tried, killed, and finally resurrected. That's the exodus about which they are talking. It is exodus not from the bondage to Egypt or Pharaoh, but from the bondage to Satan. So the bondage to sin and death. He will save his people and lead them to the promised land, the land of grace and freedom. Then a funny thing happens. Peter, the spokesperson or the quote-unquote the big mouth of 12 disciples who were almost sleeping. Probably they were so tired. But he sees his glory, Jesus' glory, and two men standing there, Moses and Elijah. And as they are leaving, he says, Master, it's good for us to be here. Let us put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. Basically, he says, don't let them go. Let them stay here. We like it here. Then, while he is speaking, something interesting happens. A cloud covers them, and they become afraid. And a voice says, keep speaking? No, it says, listen to him. Because this Jesus is my son, whom I have chosen. You better listen to him. We have heard this story many times in the church because there is Sunday called Transfiguration Sunday, which is today. If you have your bulletin, it's a Transfiguration Sunday. The last Sunday during the season of Epiphany, after this Transfiguration, Jesus will soon undertake his journey to Jerusalem to fulfill his destiny. And Ash Wednesday is right around the corner, March 6th, which will mark the beginning of the season of Lent. Lent is just beginning, it's just starting. In which we remember and meditate upon his passion, his suffering, and death. So the focus of message has been typically this Sunday, either glory of Jesus or the cost of discipleship. But today I want to focus on something else. That is listening and surrendering. Listening and surrendering. Like I said earlier, we humans, we love to talk. Right? We love to talk. We feel catharsis when we get things out of our head and out of our body. Something goes out of our body, we feel some kind of relief, right? But we feel catharsis when we get something out of our heads too, when we talk. But the scripture teaches us today to listen rather than speak. It teaches us to pay attention to what we need to hear rather than what we want to say and do. But we are like Peter. We have our own ideas and we just want to say it, while actually not knowing what we are talking about. Right? Like the disciples, like Peter in today's story, we just want to say it. And we have seen what happened in special called General Conference. Traditional plan got the majority vote and passed. The United Methodist Church, as a connectional global church, decided to maintain their stance for LGBTQ community. They are welcome to the church as the children of God, but openly LGBTQ people cannot be ordained as clergy in the United Methodist Church, and they are not allowed to have their marriage community ceremony within the church property. I mean LGBTQ people. And I made my statement last time when I was talking about a way forward, and different kinds of delegates were going to vote on. And my stance is same as a pastor of this church. I cannot publicly support or dismiss one party over the other, especially in the pulpit. But I want to say this. This is a time that we need to pay attention to the voices struggles, pains, and cries of LGBTQ brothers and sisters. I didn't know what's going to happen in the general conference, and I'm still collecting my thoughts as to what would happen to the church. I don't know. But no matter where we, as a body, as one church, no matter where we stand in this debate, no matter where you stand in this debate, let us be attentive and caring. Let us listen to their stories of confusion, hurt, coming out of the closet, their stories of experiencing God's grace and acceptance, and their disappointments at this time. The title of today's message is The Cloud of Unknowing. Actually, it is taken from a famous Christian writing in 14th century. We don't know who wrote it. But its author basically says, listen, the way to know God is to abandon consideration of God's particular activities and attributes. It's like who God is or what God does, and be courageous enough to surrender one's mind and ego to the realm of unknowing, at which point one may begin to glimpse the nature of God. Rather than saying, God wants this, God is this, he says, we better surrender our thoughts. We better surrender our ego to listen to him. Then we will begin to glimpse the nature of God. So here we are. We don't know what's going to happen next. What effect General Conference decision will have for us, and especially the LGBTQ community, particularly psychologists. But this we know. God will listen to their cries, pain, and groaning. So let us listen first to our Lord Jesus, who listened to the social outcast of his time, prostitutes, tax collectors, and sinners. And let us listen to our brothers and sisters mourning. When there is so much uncertainty, confusion, and unknowing, let us surrender ourselves, our thoughts and plans, and let us listen to him. He will speak to us. And I hope and pray we hear his voice today. Amen. Let's pray. Father, now the special whole general conference is over. We have different reactions, from a sigh of relief to disappointment and grief. No matter where we are on this issue, help us listen to the voices of those who are suffering. We are the church, but we are the people. We are different. We disagree at some points, but we want to be united in encouraging and helping others. As we enter into this time of unknowing, continue to speak to us, because we want to listen. Especially as we enter the Lenten season, starting this Wednesday, allow us to surrender ourselves to you, and in so doing, to hear your voice and experience you more. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.